Hi, we're at page 1 now. Let's start with A. A. Strong form A or an, which is how the strong form is pronounced, and, or n if it's weak. A or an is the indefinite article. It is used at the beginning of noun groups, which refer to only one person or thing. The form an is used in front of words that begin with vowel sounds. You use a or an when you are referring to someone or something for the first time, or when people may not know which particular person or thing you are talking about. I'm sorry, I forgot to say it's used as the determiner here. Sample sentences. A waiter entered with a tray. What's a tray? Tray. Let's see. Tray is a flat piece of wood, plastic, or metal which usually has raised edges, which is used for carrying things, especially for the drinks. So it's like the thin plates that you can see that are carried by waiters or waitresses when they carry food to you. Let's confirm that. Yes, just these thin plates. Tray, Tray. Let's continue. Today you've got a new teacher taking you. Oh, sorry, I forgot. I've set a rule to only move on when I finish recalling every single sample sentence that I am at. Like after reading it once, I would, without looking at it, I would try to recall it myself. And of course, I expect myself to understand what it means too. Like, what's that again? A waiter entered with the tray. A waiter entered with a tray. Yes. A waiter entered with a tray. A waiter entered with a tray. Yes. I think I'm sure what it means. You may recall it with me if you want. So the second sample sentence. He started eating an apple. He started eating an apple. He started eating an apple. Yes. I think all of us know what it means. Today you've got a new teacher taking you. A new teacher taking you. I guess it's saying today there would be a new teacher teaching me, but instead it's said taking you. I guess that it expresses the same meaning. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Today you've got a new teacher taking you. Today you've got a new teacher taking you. I manage a hotel. I manage a hotel. I manage a hotel. Determiner, the second sense. You use a or an when you're referring to any person or thing of a particular type and do not want to be specific. Sample sentences. I suggest you leave it to an expert. I suggest you leave it to an expert. But the Joker said, if you're good at something, never do it for free. So, get your wallet prepared. Just kidding. I suggest you leave it to an expert. I suggest you leave it to an expert. Bring a sleeping bag. Bring a sleeping bag. Bring a sleeping bag. I was waiting for a bus. I was waiting for a bus. I was waiting for a bus. The third sense is also a determiner. You use a or an in front of an uncountable noun when that noun follows an adjective, or when the noun is followed by words that describe it more fully. Sample sentences. There was a terrible sadness in her eyes. So she's very sad. There was a terrible sadness in her eyes. There was a terrible sadness in her eyes. There was a terrible sadness in her eyes. The fourth sense is also a determiner. Use a or an in front of a mass noun when you want to refer to a single type or make of something. I'm sorry, what is a mass noun? I think I should know that, but I've forgotten it. Mass noun. Mass noun. So it's like an uncountable noun that cannot be counted. Lacks a plural in all your usage. O, not used with the indefinite article like a, because a or an is the indefinite article. So we cannot just set a parentheses mass noun. Instead, we have to say followed by an adjective, then a mass noun, then it's okay. Cannot be counted for different types. I drank some coffee. I ordered 2 coffees. So when there's something before it, we can add an S. Yeah, I guess so. Mass noun. Where we're at. That describes it more fully. First, terrible sentence. Use a or an in front of a mass noun when you want to refer to a single type or make of something. Examples. Bollinger RD is a rare, highly prized wine. What is Bollinger RD? Bollinger RD is like some expensive wine. Well, we're not going into the details. It's just not something I can afford. Bollinger RD. Bollinger RD is a rare, highly prized wine. 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 Prized. I think prized is an alternative of expensive. Highly valued. Maybe a little bit different. Prized. But next time you could use prized to describe a wine or some luxurious food, I guess. Highly valued. Prized. The fifth sense, determiner. Use a in quantifiers such as a lot, a little, and a bit. Sample sentences. I spend a lot on expensive jewelry and clothing. I spend a lot on expensive jewelry and clothing. I spend a lot on expensive jewelry and clothing. I've come looking for a bit of advice. Advice. I believe advice is uncountable, right? Advices. Do we have advices? Yes, uncountable. Advice.
Advice.
Advice. I've come looking for a bit of advice. I've come looking for a bit of advice. I've come looking for a bit of advice. The sixth sense, determiner. Use a or an to refer to someone or something as a typical member of a group, class, or type. Some parents believe a boy must learn to stand up and fight like a man. Girls can fight too. well, the later part is added by me. Some parents believe a boy must learn to stand up and fight like a man. Some parents believe a boy must learn to stand up and fight like a man. Some parents believe a boy must learn to stand up and fight like a man. Okay. The seventh sense, determiner. You use a or an in front of the names of days, months, or festivals when you are referring to one particular instance of that day, month, or festival. Sample sentence. The interview took place on a Friday afternoon. Well, the interview happens on a Friday afternoon. Here is using on a Friday afternoon. I think it agrees to the Friday part instead of the afternoon part. Because if we're saying afternoon or morning, we usually use in the morning, if I'm right. Yes, just remember it. On a Friday afternoon. The interview took place on a Friday afternoon. The interview took place on a Friday afternoon. The eighth sense, determiner. Use a or an when you're saying what someone is or what job they have. I explained that I was an artist. 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 He was now a teacher and a respectable member of the community. He was now a teacher. He was now a teacher and a respectable member of the community. I'd like to become a respectable member of the community as well. Hopefully I can achieve that. He is now a teacher and a respectable member of the community. He is now a teacher and a respectable member of the community. Ninth, determiner. Use a or an in front of the names of artists to refer to one individual painting or sculpture created by them. Sample sentence. Most people have very little difficulty in seeing why Van Gogh is a work of genius. I'm sure you all know this guy, or at least have heard of his name. Van Gogh. Van Gogh. Let's hear how it's pronounced. Oh, I should go for the online dictionary first. Van Gogh. Van Gogh. Am I pronouncing it right?
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh. Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
Dutch. I don't speak Germany.
Van Gogh.
Oh, this is better. Van Gogh. Van Gogh. Van Gogh. Van Gogh. I'm expecting guys with lots of beard and looks like it comes from a painting. VanGogh. Okay. Vincent van Gogh. Well, attractive man. Van Gogh. Van Gogh. Van Gogh. Van Gogh. Most people have very little difficulty in seeing why a Van Gogh is a work of genius. So a Van Gogh means a piece of work from Van Gogh. Most people have very little difficulty in seeing why a Van Gogh is a work of genius. So it's very obviously brilliant. It's obviously brilliant, his work. Most people have very little difficulty in seeing why a Van Gogh is a work of genius. Most people have very little difficulty in seeing why a Van Gogh is a work of genius. You use the 10th sense determiner. You use a or an instead of the number 1, especially with words of measurement such as hundred, hour, and meter, and with fractions such as half, quarter, and third. Examples: more than 1,000 acres of land. Acre, A-C-R-E. Acre is a unit of measurements. An acre is an area of land measuring 4840 square yards or 4047 square meters. I'm more familiar with the metric system. Let's not memorize it. 4840 square yards. Acre. Acre.
Acre.
There's a little R in the end. That's for American pronunciation. If you're pronouncing in the British way, you don't have to, just acre. But I'm leaning towards the American pronunciation mostly. So I'd say acre, acre, acre. Oh, where we're at. More than 1,000 acres of land. More than 1,000 acres of land. More than 1,000 acres of land. A quarter of an hour. So that's 15 minutes. A quarter of an hour. It's 1/4 of an hour. A quarter of an hour. Quarter of an hour. The 11th sense determiner use a or an in expressions such as 8 hours a day to express a rate or ratio. Examples: prices start at 13.95 pounds a meter for printed cotton. 13.95 pounds a meter for printed cotton. Let's see what's printed cotton. It sounds like some kind of fabric. Printed cotton. Printed cotton. Or just some cotton that is printed with some figures. Printed cotton. Printed. Yeah. A piece of cotton fabric that is printed. Fabric or fiber. Let's confirm that. Fabric. 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 Is fabric a noun or an adjective or both? Fabric is cloth or other material produced by weaving together cotton, nylon, wool, silk, or other threads. Oh, that's not important, though it can be used as a noun. Printed cotton. Prices start at 13.95 pounds a meter for printed cotton. Prices start at 13.95 pounds for printed cotton. Prices start at 13.95 pounds for printed cotton. Next, the helicopter can zip along at about 150 kilometers an hour. What is zip along? Z-I-P. It means to move fast, to quickly move to somewhere. Zip, zip, zip somewhere. Yes. If you say that someone or something or someone zips somewhere, you mean that they moved there very quickly. Zips along, so it's moving in a straight line. I guess that's what zips along means. The helicopter can zip along at about 150 kilometers an hour, or kilometers. Let's confirm that. I think both are fine. Kilometers or kilometers. kilometer, kilometer,
kilometer,
kilometer, kilometer,
kilometer,
kilometer. I think kilometer sounds cooler. You may beg to differ. That's how I would pronounce it. Kilometer, kilometers. A helicopter can zip along at about 150 kilometers an hour. A helicopter can zip along at about 150 kilometers an hour. A helicopter can zip along at about 150 kilometers an hour. Is that quick? I guess so. Oh, the second entry is still A. A's. Variable noun. A is the first letter of the English alphabet. English alphabet is just A, B, C, D, E, F, G that we know. The 26 characters that we're familiar with that made up all English words. That's the English alphabet. Is the first letter of the English alphabet. Noun variable. Oh, let's see. What's the variable nouns? If I remember it correctly, I think it means variable nouns should be nouns that can be used as that we can add an s to its end, and sometimes we can do it and sometimes we can't. Variable noun. Variable nouns are nouns combine the behavior of count and uncountable nouns when they refer to an instance. Yes. So like when we're raising examples, we can add an s to it. And injustices. Cake, a cake, cakes. Just remember this when we are raising an example or raising an instance, that we can add an s to it. In music, A is the 6th note in the scale of C major. Well, I basically know nothing about music. Let's move on. The third sense, variable noun. If you get an A as a mark for a piece of work or in an exam, your work is extremely good. Well, that's intuitive. You get an A, that means you score high in an exam. You get good grades in your exam. The fourth sense, A or A, is used as an abbreviation for words beginning with A, such as acceleration, ampere, or answer. Ampere and accelerations are terms of physics. Let's see. Let's confirm the pronunciation of ampere. Ampere is a unit of electrical current or something. Ampere.
Ampere.
Ampere in British.
Ampere.
British pronunciation. Ampere in American. Ampere. I'll stick to ampere. It's a unit which is used for measuring electric current. Yes, it's a unit for measuring electric current. Well, let's forget physics for now. Ampere. Or answer. The fifth sense phrase. People talk about getting from A to B when they're referring generally to journeys they need to make, without saying where the journeys will take them. Getting from A to B. Sample sentence. Cars are for getting people from A to B in maximum safety. Cars are for getting people from A to B in maximum safety. Cars are for getting people from A to B in maximum safety. Yes, from A to B just means to move from one place to another. To move from one position to another position. Nothing special. Prefix. It can also be used as a prefix. Then add something. like a typical, which means not typical. Well, let's see. A hyphen is added to the beginning of some adjectives in order to form adjectives that describe someone or something that does not have the feature or quality indicated by the original word. For example, an apolitical person is someone who is not interested in politics or who does not support any political parties. Like, if you're apolitical, you don't care about what's happening in terms of politics. What's happening in the government? What are what are the current policies? Something like that. So if you add the prefix a to an adjective, you just mean the opposite. A prefix is just something you add to the beginning of a word. Prefix. Prefix. It's a lecture on normota, which is added to the beginning of a word in order to form a different word. Yes, like unhappy. Un is also a prefix. Prefix. Prefix.
Prefix.
Prefix. Oh, next entry. R. A-A-H. R. Just a sound. Next entry. A-N-E is an uncountable noun. In Britain, A&E is a part of a hospital that deals with accidents and emergencies. A&E is an abbreviation for accident and emergency in Britain. Well, in American, we would use ER instead of A&E. I think ER in its full form is called emergency room, ER. And here in Hong Kong, we're referring to that kind of emergency room used for handling peoples in with experienced severe casualties or hurt severely, or people of very acute illness or symptoms. We'll take them there to the A&E. Accident and emergency, just a department of a hospital that's used for handling those patients with urgent needs to be treated. Next entry, AB. Well, it's simply spelled as AB. Do we need to add an S as after spell? Let's see. It's spelled as spelled. If you spell a word, it's spelled. I think not. We don't need to add an as after spell. So I would say, I'm not sure if that's spelled that way. I'm not sure if that's spelled as that way. This is subject to change. In some American universities, an AB is the same as a BA. I think BA is referring to Bachelor of Arts. Is that right? American BA. Let's forget it. Let's forget it for now. Next entry, aback, A-B-A-C-K. It's a phrase. It's used in a phrase. If you're taken aback by something, you're surprised or shocked by it, and you cannot respond at once. So you're surprised if you're taken aback by something. Example. Roland was taken aback by our strength of feeling. Roland was taken aback by our strength of feeling. Roland was taken aback by our strength of feeling. So it's like we are unexpectedly angry, or just suddenly breaks into tears, or breaks out into tears. Let me confirm. Break into I think I've learned this since when I was in secondary school. Breaks into tears. Do we have such expressions? I believe there is. Break into tears. To suddenly begin to cry. Yes, like someone just suddenly begins to cry, and you can say, the man seeing this is taken aback by our strength of feeling, by her tears, all of a sudden taken aback by something. To be surprised by something. Next entry, abacus, abacus. Countable noun. An abacus is a frame used for counting. It has rods with sliding beads on them. So, abacus. An abacus, yes, these tools, a device can be used for counting or calculating or do arithmetic. Uses to add, minus, subtract, multiply, and divide. Can we use it for division? I'm not sure. But at least it can add and subtract. Yes, a device for arithmetic. Has rods, these little beans like things that slice on rods. This long thin metal or wood. Yes, beads that slice on rods. And abacus. Next entry, abalones. Plural abalones. Variable noun. Abalone is a shellfish, not selfish, shellfish, S-H-E-L-L. Fish with a shell, I suppose. Abalone is a shellfish that you can eat, and that has a shiny substance called mother of pearl inside its shell, like a shellfish. Shellfish. Yes, just these sea creatures with shells. Let's see what's mother of pearl. Mother of pearl. Just this pearl-like things. Looks expensive and rare. Highly prized, like the Bollinger RD. I guess. Mother of pearl is an inorganic composite material produced by some what? MOLLUSES. MOLL. Please forgive my poor memory. Let's see. Yes. Mollusk. A mollusk is an animal such as a snail, clam, or octopus with a solid body, which is a clam. Oh my god. Clam. What's the difference between an abalone and a clam? Let's see, abalone. A-B-A-L-O-N-E. Abalone. Oh, well, I think I know this. I just don't know how it's called. What's its name in English? Abalone. Some highly prized food. Some rare highly prized food with a mother of pearl inside. A mother of pearl, just some pearl-like thing, which looks expensive. Next entry, abandon. Abandons, abandoning, abandoned. First sense, a verb. If you abandon a place, thing, or person, You leave the place, thing, or person permanently, which means forever, or for a long time, especially when you should not do so, when you should not, you should not abandon others. Sample sentences. He claimed that his parents had abandoned him. He claimed that his parents had abandoned him. So that's the thing in the past. At that particular moment in the past, his parents had abandoned him. Yes, that's from his past self. His past self is saying, oh, at that moment in the past, his parents has already abandoned him. So that's why we're using a past perfect tense here. If I'm right, claimed that his parents had abandoned him. He claimed that his parents had abandoned him. He claimed that his parents had abandoned him. The road is strewn with abandoned vehicles. Strewn, S-T-R-E-W-N. S-T-R-E-W-N. Strewn.
Strewn.
It's an adjective. If a place is strewn with things, they're lying scattered there. So they're lying everywhere. If your house is strewn with garbage, there's garbage everywhere in your house. Just lying scattered there. It's strewn with. The floor is strewn with papers. The desk is strewn with papers as well. So many papers. So many pieces of paper. So the road is strewn with abandoned vehicles. Abandoned vehicles are everywhere. The road is strewn with abandoned vehicles. The road is strewn with abandoned vehicles. The road is strewn with abandoned vehicles. Why would people abandon vehicles? They're expensive. Maybe they've got cash to burn. Second sense. It's also a verb. If you abandon an activity or piece of work, you stop doing it before it is finished. So it's halfway done, but not yet finished. Sample sentence. The authorities have abandoned any attempt to distribute food. So they have decided to not to distribute food. The authorities, the people in power, like the government officials or some privileged organizations, or not necessarily privileged, but some big organizations or the government. The authorities have abandoned any attempt to distribute food. The authorities have abandoned any attempt to distribute food. The authorities have abandoned any attempt to distribute food. Third sense, verb. If you abandon an idea or way of thinking, you stop having that idea or thinking in that way. So you abandon a thought, a belief. Sample sentence. Logic had prevailed and he had abandoned the idea. This expression is interesting. Logic had prevailed. Logic had prevailed. Logic has prevailed. I think it simply means as people are getting more logical, they started to reason through different issues instead of blindly listen to some authorities. Sure, logic has prevailed. Logic. I think it's just another fancy way to say, yes, people are getting more logical, but instead they said logic has prevailed. Logic is a method of reasoning that involves a series of statements which must be true of the statement before it is true. Like math, you solve a math problem step by step. If your previous step is right and you do this step right, then you get the correct answer. Like reason through things. There's a reason behind everything. To be logical. Logic has prevailed over emotions. Logic had prevailed and he had abandoned the idea. Logic had prevailed and he had abandoned the idea. Logic had prevailed and he had abandoned the idea. The fourth sense, uncountable noun, usually with noun. If you say that someone does something with abandon, you mean that they behave in a wild, uncontrolled way and do not think or care about how they should behave. It's used to show disapproval. Example, he has spent money with gay abandon. This expression is funny as well. With gay abandon, with rash, unrestrained impulsiveness, enthusiasm, or zeal. Got the car for his birthday. He's been motoring around at night with gay abandon. It just means arbitrarily, without thinking too much about the consequences of doing so. With gay abandon, just arbitrarily, or too happily, if that makes sense. The insurgents set about town began fire with gay abandon, unrestrained impulsiveness. You can't control yourself with gay abandon. Enthusiasm or zeal, something like passion, a zeal. Let's confirm that, a zeal. Zeal. Zeal is great enthusiasm, especially in connection with work, religion, or politics. His zeal for teaching, or his passion for teaching. Passion, zest, fire. Zest means the same things too, I guess. This feeling of pleasure and enthusiasm. Okay, let's forget it. We're going too far. With gay abandon, arbitrarily, in an unrestrained way, gay abandon. Back to our sentence. He has spent money with gay abandon. Maybe he's got cash to burn. He's very, very rich. So he doesn't need to think twice before spending any large sum of fortune or before spending any money. He has spent money with gay abandon. The fifth sense, well, see also abandoned. Let's drop it. The sixth sense, phrase, if people abandon ship, they get off a ship because it is sinking. So you get off ship when it's about to sink, and you'll be drowned. Next entry, abandoned. Abandoned is an adjective. It usually comes before a noun. An abandoned place or building is no longer used or occupied, like there is nobody using it now. Sample sentence. All that digging has left a network of abandoned mines and tunnels. That digging. When you're digging, you use the tool to shove out some soil and make a hole. Well, dig. Yes, just dig a hole to create a hole by shoving out the soil. Is this right? Alright, let's go for dig directly. Dig. They make a hole in the ground or in a pile of earth, stones, or rubbish. Dig. Dig into something or something. Dig. Shove. That makes sense. Shove. It's not shove, it's shove.
Shove.
Shove. If you shove someone or something, you push them with a quick, violent movement. Shove her out of the way. Push them. Shove someone means to push them. Shove. Oh, I'm wrong. Because there is a device called a shovel. Shovel is used to... It's tool with long handle is used for lifting and moving earth. Yes, you know why I'm making this mistake now. I was guessing shove means to... is used to lift and move soil, but I'm wrong. Am I wrong? Well, let's move on quickly. This video is getting long. Shovel is tool. Just to create a hole. Shovel, yes, this tool that used to create holes on ground. Shovel. All that digging has left a network of abandoned mines and tunnels. Mines are these big holes that are for transportation of vehicles and to dig resources like oils. Just that large holes underground. Mines. Let's see the official definition, or the definition from Collins Dictionary. Mine is a place where deep holes and tunnels are dug under the ground in order to obtain a mineral such as coal, diamonds, or gold. So it is a place where deep holes and tunnels are dug under the ground. So that large space for exploiting minerals. Abandoned mines and tunnels. Abandoned mines and tunnels. Tunnels. Just some pathway undergrounds. Tunnels. Yes. Let's move on. Next entry. Abandonment. Abandonment. Abandonment is an uncountable noun. The abandonment of a place, thing, or person is the act of leaving it permanently or for a long time, especially when you should not do so. So it's the noun form of abandon. Of is usually collocated with of after that. Sample sentence. Memories of her father's complete abandonment of her. Memories of her father's complete abandonment of her. Memories of her father's complete abandonment of hers. So his father abandoned her completely. Complete abandonment. Next sense. Uncountable noun. The abandonment of a piece of work or activity is the act of stop doing it before it is finished. Like the abandonment of smoking, drinking. Let's see. Sample sentences. Constant rain forced the abandonment of the next day's competitions. So it's continuously raining, constant rain. And so the next day's competitions cannot help but being abandoned, being cancelled or postponed. I guess cancelled. Abandonment. Constant rain forced the abandonment of the next day's competitions. Constant rain forced the abandonment of the next day's competitions. Constant rain forced the abandonment of the next day's competitions. Constant rain forced the abandonment of the next day's competitions. Constant rain forced the abandonment of the next day's competition. Forced lead to something's occurrence. Next tense, uncountable noun. The abandonment of an idea or way of thinking is the act of stopping having the idea or of stopping thinking in that way. The abandonment of an idea or way of thinking is the act of stop having the idea or stopping or the idea of stopping thinking in that way. So again, like you abandon an idea, abandon the belief, and you can say the abandonment of such belief, like the abandonment of whatever-ism, materialism, the abandonment of materialism, utilitarianism. Next entry, abashed, abashed, is usually linked with adjective, verb linked with adjective. If you are abashed, you feel embarrassed and ashamed, like you've done something wrong, or you can't face someone because you've done something wrong, or something's getting awkward between you and the one you're talking to. It's usually used in written articles. He looked abashed, uncomfortable. He looked abashed, uncomfortable. He looked abashed, uncomfortable. Abate, A-B-A-T-E, A-B-A-T-E, abate. Abate, abating, abated. Verb. If something bad or undesirable abate, it becomes much less strong or severe. So it's alleviating, it becomes less strong. It's used formally, formal usage. Example, the storms had abated by the time they rounded Cape Horn. Cape Horn is just the name of a place. Cape Horn. Let's see how Cape Horn looks like. Cape Horn. Like an island, a shore. Cape Horn. The storms had abated. The storms had become weaker. By the time means before that particular point in time. Had abated by the time they rounded Cape Horn. Rounded, when used as a verb, it should mean to go around the edge of a place. Like you're going around the earth, to travel around the world. Rounded, as a verb. If you round a place or obstacle, you move in curve past the edge or corner of it. Like you're running along the edge of a circle. You round a place or obstacle. As we round a corner. Round, go, move in a curve. Move in a curve, not in a straight line. The storms had abated before the time they rounded Cape Horn. The storm had abated by the time they rounded Cape Horn. The storm had abated by the time they rounded Cape Horn. Wow, that's lucky. Because the storm has weakened or even stopped before they arrived at Cape Horn, a famous tourist spot, I believe. Next entry, abatement, A-B-A-T-E-M-E-N-T. Abatement. Abatement means a reduction in the strength or power of something or the reduction of it. I guess that is the noun form of abate plus of. Example, the abatement of carbon dioxide emissions. The abatement of carbon dioxide emissions. The abatement of carbon dioxide emissions. Is that emission or emissions? Let's check this out. emission, 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 shin, not zhin, emission,
Omission.
emission. The abatement of carbon dioxide emissions, the abatement of carbon dioxide emissions. So less carbon dioxide is emitted. It weakens. The emissions has reduced. Noise abatement, noise abatement, noise abatement, noise abatement. To reduce your noise, the abatement of noise, the reduction of noise. Next entry, abattoir, 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 abattoirs, countable noun. An abattoir is a place where animals are killed in order to provide meat. The place where we killed animal for their skin or their flesh. It's mostly used in Britain, abattoir. In American, we mostly use slaughterhouse. 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 So we've finished the first page of Collins Dictionary. This is my second official video on YouTube, so I'm not expecting it will go this long. It would take so long to record just one page of dictionary reading. So next time from page 2 on, I would try to split one page worth of content into different smaller, shorter videos for the convenience of consumption, for your consumption. Yes, you may, take your time. Not take your time. Enjoy your day. Thank you.